Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
What did the class learn today? This is number one. Number two, when we use Hess law, we may or we assume complete thermodynamic reversibility of a chemical reaction, which again may or may not be possible. Of course, there is a third thing, calculation of heat of reaction based on heat of formation data of product and reactant does not consider activation energy. Is it clear to all? Take a minute to convince yourself. That is important. Yes, Samira, what is your question? In the previous question, can we directly find heat of formation of CO? See, it's not a question of, so what we did is we did everything to directly find the heat of formation of carbon monoxide, right? All we did was, to our only purpose in the previous question was to find this, right? So there is one thing is to write down this. One thing is to write down this. You are solving a problem, but then you now also have to worry about how to measure this. Right? And if you have to somehow have to get this reaction done, and this is for the entire class, because what is Samira's question is a likely question for many of you. It is not a problem we are solving. We are actually overcoming a practical limitation. So you understand that we also have to measure it in order to, when the value is written in the textbook or in a research paper, somebody has to measure it. Samira, that you agree? So then comes the question, how do we measure? Because many of you, when I wrote this particular thing, many of you eventually agreed that if you try to run the formation reaction of carbon monoxide, right, with stoichiometric amount of carbon and oxygen, then what will happen? Yes, Pradipti. That is exactly yes. So the Hess law, the assumption is a reasonably decent assumption. See, don't get over carried away with everything, because now let's say the whole class is very convinced with steam table. But if you see that steam table is also based on assuming that value of U is zero at, I think, 0 degree centigrade and some pressure. This is number one. Number two is, even when you are very happy about the, let's say, heat of formation of carbon dioxide, right? Why you are happy? Because the formation reaction of carbon dioxide actually takes place. Do not forget that even there, the formation reaction of carbon dioxide rests on one fundamental assumption. And what is that assumption? The heat of formation of both carbon and oxygen is zero. You know these are two different chemicals, but their heat of formation data is zero. So this is based on which the whole stuff sort of runs. So don't start doubting the Hess law. What I am teaching is the consequence of Hess law, or what I am going to come, that heat of combustion and things like that subsequently, is that, or let me finish answering to Samira's question, that even in case the formation reaction is fake. What is formation reaction? What is a fake formation reaction? That if you take stoichiometric amounts of the reactants all in their elemental form, you will not be able to achieve the desired compound. This is what is a fake formation reaction. And that is the consequence of a fake formation reaction is this particular statement: carbon monoxide does not form. So if you take, let's say, three elements, right, like H2SO4, so what you are going to do, H2 plus S plus 2O2 equal to H2SO4, right? And you may, in most cases, you will know that probably if you just take them and mix in a beaker or something, you will not get sulfuric acid. So the formation reaction is fake. But this, so coming to Pradipti, your question, it is obvious that carbon monoxide forms. Now, carbon monoxide is not a fake compound. See, if I write a compound like this and say this is some great oxide of carbon, you might say this is a fake compound. And you, even for this one, you can write a formation reaction. You can write a formation reaction like this. But here, not only the formation reaction is fake, but the compound is also fake. Since the compound is fake, it does not exist in nature, you do not have any other reaction in which this compound participates. And therefore, if a reaction actually takes place, you can, using the calorimeter, find out its heat of reaction. Is this statement clear to Pradipti, Samira, and everyone? So, for carbon monoxide, formation reaction is fake, but it participates in other reactions. That is clear to all? This particular part of the statement, which is written very badly. Pradipti, others? So if that happens, that, or for compounds which has fake formation reaction, but participates in other chemical reaction, what do you do? People who have doubt. Samira, let's close your question now. So is this statement clear to you? So what do you do? If the formation reaction is fake, you cannot perform that reaction directly in the calorimeter. Therefore, your question of directly measuring the heat of formation of CO is not possible. But what does Hess law allow? Hess law allows you, number one, Hess law relies on thermodynamic reversibility, number one. And I don't know where is Pradipti, she is not responding. And number two is, it also allows, if you look into what we have done here in the Hess law thing, we have just added up and then used a chemical reaction. If you look, the added left hand side and the right hand side. So not only we can use Hess law, Pradipti, that of course you can use Hess law. Hess law comes with certain stuff that is allowed. So essentially, once you add up the left hand side and the right hand side, you now utilize or handle this reaction, this added reaction, as an algebraic reaction, algebraic equation. That is clear, that the whole class understand. You know Hess law, this, that, but this is chemistry, this is not algebra. But what you are doing here is not chemistry, it is algebra. What you have done here is not chemistry, it is algebra. All you have done is x plus y is equal to 25 or 25. Then you have actually written nothing other than minus x minus y is minus 25. This is perfectly valid as an algebraic operation. But that is what you have exactly done here. Is it clear? And therefore, the whole point of Hess law, the utility of Hess law is for compounds which have fake formation reaction. What is the problem with fake formation reaction? You cannot go to a calorimeter or a reactor like this. Or what is the advantage of compounds which have real formation reaction? Real formation reaction, so compounds with real formation reaction this can be measured. Right? In some instrument. The ones with fake formation reaction, it cannot be measured. So what do? You say it has a fake formation reaction and I do not know the formation reaction. That is not an engineering approach, because engineering approach is something is better than nothing. So what we say, okay, you cannot do the formation reaction, but let's figure out what are the other reactions this particular compound participates. And that is exactly what we did. We figured out that carbon monoxide has a fake formation reaction, but we also figured out that carbon monoxide participates in oxidation, resulting in carbon dioxide. Now that's a real reaction. So if you have a real reaction, now you can measure the thermodynamic quantities associated with that real reaction. And that's what you have done. So you now have, for carbon monoxide, you now have its oxidation data, and so it oxidizes to carbon dioxide. Now you say, so if you want to approach somebody and you do not have his or her direct contact, so what will you do? You will try to approach a friend of him or her. And that is exactly what you do. So you find carbon monoxide participates in an oxidation reaction. It results in carbon dioxide. And wow, I have the formation data of carbon dioxide. So let's combine these two. And what allows you to combine these two? Hess law allows you to combine these two. Then with the framework of the assumptions of Hess law, by algebraic manipulation, you are able to find out the heat of formation of carbon monoxide. Is it clear to the class now? I must thank Samira and Pradipti for the good questions, because that is exactly the utility of Hess law. In terms of course, there are other utilities. So not only it is you must also realize, suppose a compound has a real formation reaction, do we convert the enthalpy to 0 for them and use a similar, see, if you have, I'll clarify your doubt, it's a good doubt. See, Pradipti, if you have a real reaction, right, you do not care about what is the numbers you assume. You simply perform the reaction. Please come out of the pages of textbook. If you have a real formation reaction, by writing the equation, you can never determine any value. All it gives is, if you have a real formation reaction, go to the reactor, perform the reaction. Of course, the left hand side, all the constituents will be in their elemental form. Therefore, the heat of formation of all the constituents on the left hand side is going to be 0, right? And therefore, you have no idea looking at the equation what is going to be the heat of formation data. But the amount of heat released from the calorimeter or the amount of heat absorbed by the reactor or calorimeter or whatever, that will give you the heat of formation data. Please do understand that heat of formation, the compounds that have heat of formation, which is a real reaction, you can experimentally generate the data. You cannot do some calculation here and generate the data. Is it clear? And is the whole discussion clear to the class? There is no question of any factor or anything. It's a robust experimental data. Any formation reaction, the left hand side, the heat of formation is 0 because they are only the elements. Now, are you convinced, Pradipti, or do you still have any doubt? Others, the class is convinced now? So I guess all of you knew heat of formation, heat of reaction, everything, but we just sort of, just like everything else, we sort of added some additional insight to it. And the most important thing is, what is the utility of Hess law? Utility is of Hess law lies, it's a greatly useful stuff, lies for thousands of compounds or billions of compounds for which the formation reaction is not possible. Okay. So that is it. So let me just ask about one quick question. So suppose this is a reactor. You can calculate, right? Anything else I need to specify in this diagram so that I can use this particular equation for estimating the heat of reaction or estimating the amount of heat release or whatever? And the second question that comes is, why this data is important? So first thing is, do we need to specify anything else in the figure? Standard condition, very good. So this formula is valid Only when, if your reactor is at 1 atmosphere, 25 degrees centigrade, and all the streams are not elements, Vivek, Surekha. There is no question of elements anymore. We are not talking about the heat of formation. Yes, all species. Because now we are talking about a heat of reaction. So everything should be at the standard state. Then you can use what? You can use the heat of formation data to estimate the heat of reaction. Is it clear to all? Now, instead of this, suppose what to do? What to do? Is the question clear to the whole class? Enthalpy should change. Of course, Pradipti, it's a philosophical answer. How to change? 10 years later, you will be in a position like that. It should change. But now, unfortunately, you have to do the change or implement the change. How exactly does it change? H equal to U plus PV, to chodo, just assume. I mean, if we know that they remain in the reactants and the products all between 100 degrees centigrade and 25 degrees centigrade, there is no phase change or whatever. It is simply the MCP dt you have to consider. I guess all of you have seen Healy roads. It's a very stupid example I give, but very effective one. All of you have seen hilly roads, right? So there is one hill, the road meanders like this, and then there is a valley, and then there is another hill, right? So how does the road go? The road will mute yourself, whoever is that. The road will meander down all the way to the bottom, and then it goes up, and then it meanders up, right? This all of you have seen. It's exactly like that. So here you just remember that concept. So as if the reactants which are at a higher temperature or whatever, first you have to bring them to the standard state, right? So everything comes in the standard state. You are very lucky because at least in the reactor, what is specified that the reactor is operating at the standard state. So you can still use the heat of formation data. And then after the reactants are formed, the products are formed, and in most cases, until and unless one is a gaseous. Okay. I have drawn something that there are two products which are coming out in two different streams. Is it possible? And if is it possible, does it tell anything about the nature of the products? No, we cannot use the two reactions at 100 degrees centigrade and 200 degrees centigrade. Sorry, that is the whole thing. Because heat of formation data at 100 degrees centigrade or 200 degrees centigrade is not specified, Shah and Vaiti. That is the whole thing. You cannot use this reaction at any other temperature or pressure condition because of the fact you can write a equation there, no problem. But none of this data can be used at 100 degrees centigrade or 200 degrees centigrade. Is it clear? In order to use this data, right? And this data will be available in the form of some table. This data can be used only at. Good, you made that mistake in the class, because if we do not discuss this in a class and I straight away ask this in an examination, many people make this mistake. This data can be used only at 25 degrees centigrade, 1 atmosphere, right? That's it. Then of course you can argue that, okay, HF at 25 degree, then we do MCPDT or HUH equal to U plus PV and all that. But those are complicated stuff because you need to know all the physical parameters. The general standard concept is that if you have reactants and products that are condition, right? Then what you do, you first, as if hypothetically, bring down that reactant temperature to 1 atmosphere. That is exactly what is happening, because as long as your reactor is operating at 1 atmosphere and 25 degrees centigrade, you have a cooling down, right? And then once what you that your products form at the standard condition, and then you raise the temperature. So whatever is your thermal effect, a part of the energy is as consumed in heating up of the product. Is it clear to the class? So if you encounter a system like that, where what is exactly the system? The reactant and or the products are not at 25 degrees centigrade, 1 atmosphere. So what exactly do? You use whatever you know to estimate the enthalpy, right? Or as I mean, you find out what is the energy requirement, either the system releases energy or system gains energy, to bring the temperature of the reactants to 25 degrees centigrade, 1 atmosphere, and then raise the temperature of the products from 25 degrees centigrade, 1 atmosphere to the outlet temperature. Is it clear to the class? Is it clear? Is there anyone who is confused with what is going on? Kindly tell without any sort of cover. I mean, please be open. People can have some doubts, minor doubts here and there. Let us discuss it. I am repeatedly asking, let us discuss if you have any problem. There are only 2 or 3 who have raised some doubts, and I could sort of trigger some discussion. But if you remain silent like this, I will not be able to help you. If you have some conceptual doubts, I won't say mistakes, because all of you are too intelligent to even have conceptual mistakes. But if you have some conceptual doubts, please ask me right now. That is the opportunity I'm giving. That's why I'm going a little slow. I haven't yet started heat of combustion. Everybody is clear? Somehow I'm sensing it is not the case. If there is a doubt, kindly let me know. Yes, absolutely. Heat of reaction or the energy change associated with the reaction. And that HR will be, so in that case, Rohit, what you are asking, what you estimate with MCP delta T and all that is this. You can still have that molar sign, but this. What is the difference? The 0 is missing. The 0 is missing. Okay, now my question is, another question I had. Acha, I had asked another question. So if you look at the reactor I have drawn, you see that the 2 products are coming out separately. Is it possible? And if it is possible, does it tell anything about the products? This is an intelligent question. All of you have seen that the reactor I have drawn, these 2 products are coming out separately. So that almost immediately tells, not even different states, liquid and solid separation is very, very difficult. It almost tells that one is a gaseous product and one is a liquid product, right? Otherwise, it is not possible. Now, I write something. Any comments on this? So is it clear to all? Typically, if you have a reactor, you will have a common product stream, which will contain, let's say, C plus D. But only under very special conditions, you can have product stream like this, where C and D are directly separated. Third year, you will learn about certain examples. The partial condenser on top of a distillation column, you will learn about that example, where the product are in 2 different states. C is a liquid, D is a gas or whatever, and it straight away differentiates. Is it clear? I hope it is clear. Here I have written something, I will not waste too much time. If you find a statement like this is wrong. Where it is wrong? Because they are products of coming out from the same reactor. And therefore, it is not very good, Adrija. It is not possible to have two different temperatures. Okay, fine. Because I have come across doubts, sir, what will happen if these two are at two different temperatures, etc., and sort of that does not happen. So I think the next thing that we will start, and I will not start, is again some sort of a application of Hess law. I would say that there is something called standard heat of combustion. And that is used with a sign. Or sometimes they also write this. So what is this? The whole of Ornovsar's part you are learning combustion reaction. This is nothing but yes, Odrija, I'm coming to it. I'm coming to it. Sorry, I forgot. Good you reminded. I'll just finish this slide and go back. Heat of formation. Sorry, not heat of formation. Heat of reaction of combustion reactions. And why this is important? Because as you have seen, many entities, particularly hydrocarbons, they combust. So they are combustible material, or most of the fuel type stuff or combustible material actually undergo combustion reaction. And therefore, the moment it actually undergoes a combustion reaction, you can measure its heat of reaction. Therefore, heat of combustion data is known. And in the next class, I will take some 5 minutes into the discussion. I just wanted to have an Odrija is reminding me of. In the next class, what I will see, which is going to be after the pujas and after your first quiz. So those of you who joined late, 31st October during that afternoon 3:30 p.m. will be the first quiz. The medium of the quiz, whether it will be a pen and paper quiz or a Google form based quiz or a combination of the two, etc., I will clarify in due course of time. What is the duration also? It will be clarified in the due course of time. So what we will show is how heat of combustion data can be used for estimating other heat of reaction, or maybe in certain cases heat of formation, etc. Achha. I asked another question and I almost forgot. Good, Odrija reminded me. What is the utility of the heat of reaction data? Yes, and Odrija, I'd request you to be kindly remain a little silent for a while. Other friends should catch up. What is the utility of this data? Other than you solving for this number and getting some marks in the examination, what is the actual utility of this data? Yes, please. We get all the non-standard value, Shayan. What is the utility? And when I am asking this, let me be very clear. To an engineer. Why do you think that this is an important engineering subject while you have actually learned everything in your physical chemistry? The only thing you can say that the physical chemistry classes used to be the common classes, and it was probably taught in a PPT and things like that. And here we are talking to a small group, and therefore the attention span is much higher. So what exactly, Pradipti, you mean by our equipment and surrounding accordingly? What exactly is the choice of equipment or surrounding? Suitable reaction for production. What is suitable reaction? No, suitable reaction depends on choice of A and B, I guess. See, I'll put it like this. You are yourself calculating the heat of reaction, right? So what will happen? If you just do the reaction in a container like this or a reactor like this, depending on whether the reaction is exothermic or endothermic, either the temperature of the reactor will go up or it will come down. And if you then keep on running the reaction for several hours, what will happen? Either the reactor will become very hot or it will become very cold. So you certainly do not want to have that. There was already a problem you solved in your assignment or steam table or something about the amount of steam required, or you put some steam in the morning and at the evening the steam gets heated up. This is where everything merges. It's not that what we have learned so far is completely junked off. Oh, pre mid semester hai, pre Durga Puja. Uske baad jo hoga, it's all a new beginning. It's not like that. So in most cases, when you do so, see, when your teacher in chemistry lab in 11th standard demonstrated that something is a exothermic reaction and something is an endothermic reaction, took a little bit of reactants in a beaker, mixed it and showed, see, beaker thanda ho gaya, ya beaker has become garam ho gaya, or whatever. Yeah, Shraman. So when you say we need to supply heat or take it out, why do you need to supply heat or take it out? Just ask yourself the right questions and you will get the correct answer. Because for a sustained industrial process, you do not want your parameters, reactor parameters, to become completely unknown, completely uncontrolled. So in most cases, you would like to maintain So if you would like to maintain constant temperature and pressure, what actually you have to do? More importantly, constant temperature. What you have to do? What you will have to do is, if it is a exothermic reaction, then uh, continuously you have to remove heat. If it is an endothermic reaction, continuously you have to supply heat, right? And so for that, how do you do? So if you have to supply heat, for example, so what is the best thing you can supply? Steam, superheated steam, ठीक से बताओ. The best heating medium that you can supply is saturated steam. Superheated steam से क्या होगा अमन? उसका specific heat कितना है? You get only very small amount of Cp. But instead of that, if you sort of use a condenser now, which in the jacket, in this reactor jacket, where your firstly this figure is wrong, because steam will enter from here and heavier water will leave from here. And if the steam undergoes a phase transition within this jacket, then it is going to give up a lot of heat, right? Because that's related to the heat of fusion, right? Or heat of evaporation or heat of boiling or whatever it is called. I keep on forgetting those terminologies. Kindly check them. So that entire amount of heat, that 546 or whatever, can be used for heating up the reactor. So what is the consequence? If you use superheated steam, right, your mass flow rate or the amount of steam required will be much higher. And then superheated steam will transfer little bit of heat and it will remain superheated with lower degree of superheat. What do you do with that low grade steam? Much better is you take slightly superheated steam, right, which enters the chest, and then in the chest itself it undergoes phase separation. So therefore that much amount of large amount of heat can be supplied to the reactor. On the other hand, if you have an exothermic reaction, so what do? You will typically use water. You have to extract heat, and also please do understand that you are running an industrial process. So please do not assume stupid things like we will pass water at 0 degree centigrade. Fridge se nikal ke सीधा घुसा देंगे. Nothing. The only thing that will happen very next day, you will lose your job for such a design, because cooling medium or cooling water is the normal service water or the tap water that is available. So that is at 25 degree, 30 degree, 35 degree. And then as a process engineer, you will have to design. So up to what temperature you can allow this water to get heated up. First thing that will come to your mind is, sir, usko 100 degrees, 95 degree tak garam kar dete. Let us heat it up to 95 degrees centigrade. Because what is the problem if it becomes steam? You have to worry about the material of construction, jacketing, etc., etc. If there is a phase transition associated. But till 95 degrees centigrade, if you heat it up, there is no problem. But then also you will lose the job, because you should not make a pipe or the water, because that water has to be discharged somewhere. You do not heat it up so much that that becomes unbearable, or that can potentially lead to burning of the people. So depending on the normal condition, you do an optimization. What is the maximum temperature to attain versus what is the flow rate of water? So maybe you go up to heat up to 60, 65 degrees centigrade or 70 degrees centigrade, which will require mild degree or mild level of insulation of the pipe and things like that. So Pradipti, I think, wrote that so that we can choose our environment correctly and equipment correctly and surrounding correctly. This is what is that correct choice. So most of the reactor, in fact, all reactors, almost all reactor, have some arrangement of heating or cooling from outside, right? So that isothermal condition within the reactor can be maintained. And in order to maintain this isothermal condition, you must provide the utility supplier, I mean the person who is going to provide either steam or water for the cooling or heating purpose, the heat load. And how do you get the heat load? You get the heat load from this heat of reaction data. That is how now everything becomes integrated. So now when you see this reactor, this insulated reactor or cooled reactor, on one side inside the reactor, you see what is happening is what you are studying now, enthalpy change with chemical reaction. But outside the reactor, what is important or what is happening is what you have studied already, enthalpy change without chemical reaction. And therefore this is how liquid nitrogen for cooling, I mean, people will kill you, because liquid nitrogen will cost large money, because you spend a lot of energy for cooling it. So no industrial normal reactor will, until and unless you need to go to sub-zero temperature, like your reactor has to run. These are common in pharmaceutical industry. Something has to run at minus 50 degrees centigrade or minus 40 degrees centigrade. Nobody will allow you to run with liquid nitrogen. Most cases industrially. So this is now what I am talking is based on my experience, and this is my engineering experience talking versus your scientific knowledge that is talking when you talk about liquid nitrogen and all stuff. No, in most industrial processes, the cooling water is the normal service water which is available, no freezing, nothing. Of course, if you have special requirements of our reactors with sub-zero temperature and all that, you may go about some refrigerant or liquid nitrogen. So I hope what I wanted to teach is sort of the class is quite convinced, though the response was a little poor today, I must say. And if there are any other doubts, feel free to write it down. Otherwise, I'll stop here. Thank you very much. I'd like to wish all of you a very happy Navratri and festive seasons, Durga Puja to the people of this part of the country. But you know about the pandemic that is prevailing this time. So please participate in the celebration with utmost care. And it is very, very important that all of you stay safe so that we can all meet on 31st October again. And you can adequately create enough amount of mess with the examination and submission and this and that. Thank you very much. Have a nice time ahead. So I'll see you on 31st. Thank you.